everybody, my name is Elizabeth and I'm a librarian here at the LSC-Tomball Community Library. Welcome back to Baking is Baking, the series where we talk about all things food brought to you by the Tomball Innovation Lab. So I'm a librarian, but I'm also a foodie, which means I'm always looking out for interesting ways that food gets used in media. And one of my favorite instances of this is the book Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fannie Flagg, as well as the 1991 movie Fried Green Tomatoes, directed by John Avnet, that was adapted from that. I'm a Southerner, I've grown up in the South my entire life, and fried green tomatoes are one of my absolute favorite foods. So I thought, what better way to celebrate a great book and a great movie than to make the great food that inspired them both together. So today we are going to be making fried green tomatoes. The recipe that I'm using is adapted from Diana Swenson's Siegel's recipe for the best fried green tomatoes, which you can find on allrecipes.com, but we are going to be tweaking it slightly based on how we make fried green tomatoes in my family. So let's get started. To make fried green tomatoes, you will need 4 large green tomatoes, 2 large eggs, 1 cup of flour, half a cup of cornmeal, half a cup of breadcrumbs, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a quart of vegetable oil for frying. While all-purpose flour will work just fine for these, my #1 tip to make the best fried green tomatoes is to get your hands on Kentucky Kernel seasoned flour. This flour is already seasoned with 10 herbs and spices, so your batter will be incredibly flavorful. If you're worried about having a box of this stuff in your pantry after you've made this recipe, it's also perfect for frying pretty much anything and also makes a mean gravy. The first thing we are going to do is slice our tomatoes. In my family, we slice them really thin so that when they fry, they get nice and crispy, almost like a potato chip. But if you want a juicier fried green tomato, you can slice them thicker. However, I would recommend slicing them about 1/2 inch thick at the very thickest to keep them from getting soggy. Now we need to set up our kitchen for battering and frying the tomatoes. We're going to batter the tomatoes in 3 stages. 1 with our flour, 1 with our wet ingredients, and 1 with the rest of our dry ingredients. To start, whisk the eggs and milk together in a bowl and set it aside. Next, we're going to scoop the flour onto a plate and set that aside as well. Lastly, mix together the breadcrumbs, cornmeal, salt and pepper, and set that aside as well. We're essentially making an assembly line to batter our tomato slices, so if you're making a large batch of these and you have someone in your kitchen to help with you, this is a great place to pull in some extra hands. To start battering our tomatoes, we're going to coat them in the flour. Once your tomato slice is coated, dunk it in the egg and milk mixture. Lastly, cover the tomato slice in the breadcrumb and cornmeal mixture. With that done, we've got a batch of tomatoes that are all ready to be fried. To fry the tomatoes, you're going to need a large skillet, but preferably one with a little bit of depth to it. We're going to want to heat up about 1/2 inch of oil in the skillet over medium heat. You can add as many tomatoes to the oil as will fit in your skillet, but be sure that they don't touch each other in the pan or they'll stick together. Keep an eye on the tomatoes as they fry and flip them once they start to brown. Once both sides are browned, move the finished green tomatoes to a paper towel to drain off the excess oil. And now we've got our finished fried green tomatoes. My family eats them plain because with the Kentucky Kernel seasoned flour, they're already really flavorful. But if you want a dip or a sauce, remoulade is the classic choice, but I've also eaten fried green tomatoes with ranch, hot sauce, or pimento cheese as well. Now that you have your delicious plate of fried green tomatoes, what better time to enjoy a great book or a great movie? You can check out Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fannie Flagg on ebook, audiobook, or physical book from the Harris County Public Library. You can also check out the movie Fried Green Tomatoes on DVD. Fried Green Tomatoes is a story of friendship, resilience, and solidarity, all centered around delicious food set in the rural South, and is sure to be just as delicious as the fantastic fried green tomatoes that you just made. Thank you for watching this episode of Baking is Making. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter so that you never miss a future episode of Baking is Making or any of our other great online programs. And be sure to let us know if you try this recipe or if your family has their own way of making fried green tomatoes. I would really love to hear about it. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!